Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. 2 ACC coaches teetering on 500 records. One gets a reprieve, one gets the axe. Maybe Chip Kelly should give up on the NFL for good now. We're going to talk about all that and more coming up next on the Draft Countdown Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Draft Countdown Show. I'm your host, Brian Bosarge, and I'm here to tell you that we are 148 days away from the 2026 NFL Draft. Be a day early this week, as you know, holidays, all that. You can see festive border, good stuff. But I just want to tell you, if you want to talk about Thanksgiving side dishes, if you want to talk about football, you want to talk about the NFL Draft, you want to talk about all that and more, you need to head over to the Draft Countdown Discord. You can join it by scanning that QR code above my head there, or you can click the link down below, or you can go to draftcountdown.com. Top right corner of the search bar is where you go to join up on the Discord. All right, everybody. It's time for the news of the week. And, you know, we've had more coaches get fired and some that did not. We're going to start with the one that did not. Florida State will not fire Mike Norvell after this season. After an injury to quarterback Jordan Travis that kept them from making the 2023 college football playoff, Florida State has gone 7-16 since then over the last 2 seasons. They got one game with Florida left. They can get bowl eligible with a win over the Gators on Saturday. My guess is more so than anything, the reason that Mike Norvell is still employed is he has a $58 million buyout that Florida State probably just doesn't have laying around right now. So I got a feeling he's going to have to pretty much overhaul his entire coaching philosophy from roster building and everything and get better results next season to continue to be Florida State's coach after next season. But temporarily, Mike Norvell still in Tallahassee. In Berkeley, Justin Wilcox is not still there. He is 6-5 on the year, so already a bowl-eligible team for Cal. But after getting blown out by Stanford on Saturday, they said no more. And so Wilcox is out. I always assumed that their star true freshman quarterback, Jaron Kiawe Sagapolatelli, was going to transfer anyway after the season. But that almost feels assured now. The Athletic, both Bruce Feldman and Chris Vanini, listed some candidates that could be in contention to get this job. Heading both lists was Oregon defense coordinator Tosh Lupoy, former Wazoo and current Cal interim coach for what I presume will be the game this week against SMU, which we will talk about later. And their bowl game, Nick Rolovich, Cal Davis head coach Tim Plow, UConn head coach Jim Mora Jr., who has just done a terrific job with the Huskies this season. They're at 8-3. San Diego State head coach Sean Lewis, who in his 1 year with the Aztecs has done great, 9-2, I believe. Alabama offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb also listed here, and a wild card per Bruce Feldman is current Delaware State head coach and former Cal All-American wide receiver Deshaun Jackson, who took a downtrodden Delaware State program and has gone 8-3 in his first season with the Hornets of Delaware State. So keep an eye on those names. One job is filled as of today. Oklahoma State has finalized a deal to make University of North Texas head coach Eric Morris its next head coach. North Texas 10-1 on the year, has a shot to make the college football playoff if it can win the American Athletic Conference. Morris is expected to coach the AAC championship game, and if it comes to it, the college football playoff game or games, if you will. I will absolutely love this hire for Oklahoma State. I love it even more for them if OK State, if they get North Texas quarterback Drew Mestamaker and running back Caleb Hawkins, who I talked about both last week. If he can get them to transfer over, that makes this a huge win for OK State. Speaking of fired coaches, the Raiders lured Chip Kelly away from Ohio State in the offseason with a $6 million check. My man coached 11 games on offense, and the Raiders fired him this week. I'm just going to assume he'll be back coaching college football in some form, either as maybe a head coach or as another office coordinator somewhere else. But yeah, Chip Kelly out in Vegas, and let's just end him coaching in the NFL for good. It ain't his bag, quite obvious. And he just needs to stop. All right, time for our weekly segment of the NFL Draft Top 10. Do we have any changes this week? Some, maybe minor changes. The Titans still on top. They lost again. They've lost 6 in a row. They're 1-10 and sit at the top of the heap. The Giants, who have not had their bye week yet, sit at 2-10. So if for some reason the Titans were to win this week, the Giants, based on strength of schedule, would go to the number 1 pick. But the Giants, 2-10, haven't had their bye week yet. They are currently all on in second. 3 through 5 all have 2-9 records. 3 right now, the Saints, by virtue of strength of schedule, they lost this past week. The Jets also lost this week. They are 4th right now at 2-9. And the aforementioned Raiders have lost 5 in a row badly, as I don't mind saying. But their strength of schedule has been brutal. So they currently pick 5th. 4 teams currently all at 3-8, led by the Cleveland Browns, who ended their losing streak this week with Shadur Sanders getting his first start and first career QB win this week for the Browns. They're 3-8. The Washington Commanders, injury-riddled team that they are, currently 7th. The Cincinnati Bengals have lost 4 in a row. They will play Thursday night against the Baltimore Ravens, and Joe Burrow is back, and he will start that game on Thursday night. I don't expect the Bengals to stay in the top 10 when it's all said and done. I don't think they're a playoff team. They would have to win every game and get a lot of help. But the Bengals currently 3-8, having lost 4 in a row. And the Cardinals also 3-8, picked 9th. The Miami Dolphins lead the next group. They are of 4-7 teams, and with a 2-game gap between them and the Carolina Panthers, who are 6-6. But the Dolphins would currently pick 10th right now. Winners of 2 in a row, though. Atlanta, by winning this week against New Orleans, knocked the Rams out of the top 10. They currently pick 11th. And the Minnesota Vikings have lost 3 in a row. They're down to the 12th spot here at 4-7. And well, J.J. McCarthy struggle bus is real with that one, and injuries too, I guess. They may be starting former or UDFA quarterback Max Brosmer this week. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for the draft top 10. All right, let's talk about the best prospect performances we saw in Week 13 games. It was a light Week 13 because of, essentially off weeks for a lot of teams, a couple of conference games in there. But best performance I saw this week was from the Vanderbilt-Kentucky game, and it was Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia. We've talked about him a lot on the show. not overly sold on his pro prospectus, if you will. But against Kentucky, he was 33 of 39 for 484 yards, 5 touchdowns, threw 1 interception, but he also ran 15 times for 48 yards and had a rushing touchdown. So over 500 yards of total offense, 6 touchdowns accounted for. Huge game for Pavia. I would be shocked at this point, just name value alone, if he doesn't get a Senior Bowl invite. I fully expect that's coming just from the way that Senior Bowl director Drew Fabianich has talked about him on Twitter and everything. I think Pavia is going to be one of the QBs invited to the game. The other top performer this week offensively was Arch Manning. I don't think he's going to be in this class. We've talked about that ad nauseum. He has played a lot better in the back half of the season. And this week against Arkansas, Manning went 18 of 30 for 389 yards and 4 touchdowns, but that wasn't the best part. He also had a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. The first player in Texas history to pull off that feat, the first Manning to ever have a receiving touchdown. So good for Arch, I guess. But yeah, also this 2027 QB, I think, is what Arch Manning is. Other notable performances this week, Arkansas running back Mike Washington. I know he's got some fans in our Discord. 17 carries for 105 yards, 1 touchdown. He caught 6 balls for 43 yards. And defensively, the top defensive player I saw this week was TCU linebacker Caleb Alarms, or 15 tackles, 10 solos, and 2 for loss in their win over Houston. I think that sounds right. Anyway, yes, over Houston this past week. All right, with some extra days to watch games this week, our normal 5 games we're talking about, we're blowing it up to 8 this week. 8 games we're going to talk about. We're going to start with, we're going to have a game each day for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Only one college football game on Thursday because they ain't trying to compete with the NFL. They're not stupid. But 6:30 on Thursday night, Thanksgiving night on ESPN, Navy is at Memphis. It's rare, though not as rare as it used to be, that the service academies produce NFL draft-worthy talent. And Navy's got 2 of them this year. Their defensive lineman, Landon Robinson's got 7.5 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, I should say, 5.5 sacks this year. But the real interesting prospect for Navy is Eli Heidenreich. Heidenreich likely projects as a slot receiver in the NFL. He's 5'10", 205. Isn't likely to play running back at the next level, but I think he's going to be a fun gadget player if he gets drafted. He's got 94 touches this year for 1,137 yards and 7 scores. He's a super fun player. The kind of guy that an NFL offensive coordinator is probably going to love, and I just imagine he'll play very good special teams for whatever team either drafts him or brings him in. Friday, 11 a.m. on ABC. There's some big games on Friday. ABC's got a SEC triple header. We're not going to talk about 2 of the games because we've watched those teams a lot, but Georgia Tech is at 2:30. A&M in Texas is at 6:30. But the one we are going to watch is the Egg Bowl. Ole Miss at Mississippi State, and man, is the intrigue, drama surrounding this one, especially with one Lane Kiffin. It will just looms large over this game. And I just bring in the question, does the committee punish Ole Miss if they were to lose this game and then Kiffin leaves? Like, they would be a 2-loss team. Would they fall all the way out of the playoffs if Kiffin left to go to Florida or LSU and they lost this game to Mississippi State? We've talked about several of the Rebels prospects this year. This week, I want to focus on a Mississippi State player, wide receiver Brennan Thompson, huge big play guy this year, 47 catches for 868 yards and 6 touchdowns. He's got a definite chance, probably a day 3 a guy at wide receiver if he were to enter the draft. Friday night also, 6:30 p.m. on NBC, Indiana at Purdue. We'll watch Indiana again next week in the Big Ten championship game. I think they're going to cruise this week for sure. And then we'll see them again against Ohio State next week. So we'll talk about them more on next week's show. But Purdue, we haven't watched them all season, so we're going to talk about some of their prospects that are interesting. I don't know if any of them end up inevitably getting drafted, but I think they will contend for UDFA spots in 53-man rosters. That's running back Devin Mockabee. Cornerback Tony Grimes, been around the block, several teams over the last 3 or 4 years, and as well as safety Miles Slusher, who's been around from Arkansas to Colorado, now to Purdue. So keep an eye on those guys for Purdue as they try to match up with Indiana's offensive weapons. The big game, or the game, or whatever the hell they call it, 11 a.m. on Fox, Ohio State at Michigan. Can Ohio State finally slay the Dragon? They're one of the best overall teams in college football this year. Their defense is elite. Quarterback Julian Sands been improving each week. Michigan's going to be without running back Justice Haynes. He's likely out for the year. I think the Buckeyes finally get that dub and end that streak. And it sets up a battle of unbeatens in Indy next Saturday night. 12 p.m. on ESPN2, UCF is at BYU. BYU running back L.J. Martin is working himself into being a potential top 100 pick. He's got 219 touches on offense this year for 1,323 yards and 8 touchdowns. A lot of NFL scouts, from what I've heard and read, love L.J. Martin. BYU itself clinging to playoff life. They got to roll UCF in this game and then hope for they get some help. We haven't watched UCF this year, but they've got a pair of edge rushers that are intriguing. Malachi Lawrence got 7 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 3 pass breakups this year. Nigel Kelly, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 3 breakups, and an interception. I think both of them could be in that late day 3 conversation, more likely priority undrafted free agents. 2:30 p.m. on the Big Ten Network, Penn State at Rutgers. The big matchup to watch in this game is going to be between Penn State cornerback A.J. Harris and Rutgers wide receiver Ian Strong. Strong garnering top 50 love from some prominent analysts, 6'3", 210-pound wideout. Winner of this one gets to go to a bowl. The other one stays at the house. So we'll see what goes on there. 2:30 p.m. on the ACC Network, Wake Forest at Duke. Show of hands. Who knew Wake Forest was 8-3? I didn't. Not until I started researching these notes. They've got 2 defenders worth watching in this game. Edge rusher Noor Gatquoth, 6 sacks on the year. And their defensive tackle is Mateen Ibaragba. He's got 2 sacks and a forced fumble. On offense for the Demon Deacons, Damon Claiborne rushed for 849 yards and 10 scores on the year. He's a probably early to mid day 3 running back prospect. 7 p.m. on ESPN2, SMU is at Cal. SMU's got the inside track to the ACC championship game. Win, they're in. But can they stave off the fired coach play bump? It's a thing, folks. It is a thing. Cal's got one of my favorite players to watch in this class, wide receiver Jacob DeJesus. DeJesus is a tremendous return man. Going back to UNLV, he's a great slot receiver. I don't know if he gets drafted, but I think he plays his way on a 53-man roster next year. He's just undersized, very small guy. SMU's got a pair of draftable tight end prospects with Matthew Hibner and R.J. Maryland. Maryland has had injuries sink his draft value from what it could have been. However, I think he's going to end up greatly performing where he gets selected. All right, let's get to the question and answer portion of the show. As always, this is a Discord exclusive, so you have to be a member of the Discord to get your question answered. And as always, you can scan that QR code up there, or you can click the link down below, or you can go to draftcountdown.com, top right corner of the search bar, to join the Discord and then ask a question in the podcast section of the Discord, and I will answer it on the show. So, Bubba asks, Georgia wide receiver Zachariah Branch is having a career season and is being used as a more of a complete wide receiver than I expected. Is he a day 2 guy? Any chance their other wide receivers, Dylan Bell, Noah Thomas, or Colby Young, are drafted on day 3. All right, so I'm going to get to the second question first. I think all 3 of those guys have a chance, at the very least, to be UDFAs. I think Colby Young and Dylan Bell, more so than Noah Thomas. Always combine or pro day testing, pending, of course. But on to Zachariah Branch. I love what he brings to a potential NFL team. He's improved as a route runner. He creates tons of separation. His acceleration skills are off the charts. He's also going to be one of the top return specialists in this class. Can he be more than a slot? That's the biggest knock I think I have against him right now. I've currently got him on my top 100 that I released last week, 68 overall, which puts him in that late round 2, early round 3 range. But, testing other wide receivers not coming out this year could push him up the board as well. And like I said, testing, that's huge for these wide receivers while we still get it, I guess. Maybe we don't. That's another story for another day. But I think as far as that goes, Zachariah Branch has a chance to end up in that mid-round 2 range, factors pending. Zach asks, which players do you think have hurt their draft stock this season by coming back to school for one more year? This happens every year, right? We see it either be an injury or that happens in the year they come back, or they just get exposed more. 3 players jumped out when I looked at my rankings as opposed to where they were. Top quarterback Cade Klubnik from Clemson. I think the high he was riding last season, had he came out and entered the 2025 NFL draft, I think he could have gone a lot higher than what he's inevitably going to go in this class, which may not be at all. That's kind of how he's fallen off a little bit. Running back Nick Singleton from Penn State is another one that I think he's just fell off this season. He was number 2 running back in this class for me at the season started. Now he's around 7 or 8. I don't know that he's a day 2 pick right now. If I had to guess now, testing could elevate him above some of the other guys. We'll see. But I've kind of dropped Nick Singleton off a little bit. Patrick Payton, the edge rusher currently at LSU, I loved him at Florida State. And I thought he could have been much late first, early second had he entered the draft. He transfers to LSU and just fell off. Like, his performance has just gone to crap this season. So those are the 3 that immediately jumped out to me. I'm sure there's others, and I probably missed some. Anybody in your guys' head, just leave it down in the comments and let us know who you think has fallen off this season. But that's going to do it for the Q&A portion. All right. Final thoughts this week. I just want to wish everybody out there a happy Thanksgiving. I had planned on doing a Thanksgiving food segment, but everyone should already know that ham is quite obviously the superior protein to serve. So there was no need for a segment like that. And I think me and Shane a couple of years ago did a Thanksgiving draft, and everybody shit all over my choices. So screw you guys. Y'all aren't getting a Thanksgiving food ranking out of me this year. In all seriousness, though, I hope everybody enjoys this time with their families. Enjoy some great rivalry week football, and everybody out there have a great weekend. If you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell as well, so when you get notified when we drop a new video, hit the like button, share it out with your friends. Everybody, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your long weekend if you're fortunate enough to get it, and we'll see you next time.